Salut YouTube, welcome back to the Not Even French YouTube channel, which is the Francophile destination for all things French language and culture, and a little bit of New Zealand language and culture too. So today's episode is a bit of a love story to France because, you know, I've been getting a lot of comments, especially, you know, recently with COVID, like, oh, you're so lucky to live in New Zealand, you guys really moved to New Zealand at exactly the right time, and all of that kind of stuff. And yes, of course, living in New Zealand right now, which is essentially COVID-free, life as per usual, is pretty sweet. But I also don't want to forget about how amazing France is, and that is why in today's video I'm going to be talking about 9 things that France just does better than New Zealand. If you would be interested in me flipping the script and also doing a New Zealand does it better video as well, please let me know in the comments down below. I had that idea recently, but I don't know if you're interested in that or not, so if you are, please let me know and I'll check those out just to make sure that I'm creating content that you guys are going to enjoy. But without further ado, let's just jump straight on into the things that are just simply better over in France. So the first thing that France does better than New Zealand, oh my gosh, is the transport, the infrastructure around transport in France, especially le TGV, le train à grande vitesse, or the TGV as we would say in English. This train, this high-speed train, is remarkable, and it really helps to connect all of the regions within France, and then you've got a local train network as well. And honestly, in New Zealand, it's very disconnected. To get away from the main centers in New Zealand, you basically have 2 options. Either you drive there, or you take a flight and then hire a rental car to drive there. I recently went on a weekend with some girlfriends down to a small town in the South Island called Blenheim, and it's in the South Island given, but I had 2 options to get there. Either I take basically a 3-hour boat ride from Wellington over to Picton, so we cross the Cook Strait, and then of course hire a car to drive down to Blenheim to arrive there, or we could take a flight. Now the flight is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Literally, you're in Wellington, you get into the air and you hear the announcement like, "Hello passengers, welcome aboard. We are cruising at an altitude of 8,000 feet, la 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 la." I'm not even kidding you. 3 minutes later, it's like, "Cabin crew, prepare for landing." It's the most ridiculous 20-minute flight in the world. But things like that have to exist in New Zealand because we just don't have any other options. And that's something that I really love about France, is that it is relatively easy to explore the entire country without needing to drive to every single destination that you have in mind. The next thing that France just does better than New Zealand is the style, the aesthetic of people. So I asked Niels if there was anything that he missed about France, and he said that he actually missed how aesthetic and well put together and well dressed people are. It's not necessarily about their physical features, it's more around the way they put themselves together. And it's true that when you're living in France, it's pleasing to the eye to see, well, we were in Paris in particular, to see how people dress, the style. It's very good looking. There are little touches of that little something, you know, in outfits to kind of spot and that kind of thing. And obviously in New Zealand, we are just far more casual. So I have to make a conscious effort now to bring more French style back into my life. And if you're looking to add a little bit of French chic back into your life, or maybe gift it this holiday season, I definitely recommend the jewelry brand Ana Luisa. So I have partnered with Ana Luisa to bring you this video. They're one of my favorite jewelry brands. Their pieces are made in France and the USA. There are very limited runs and editions of the things that they do make, and the jewelry brand is 100% carbon neutral. They really prioritize recycled materials, recycled gold and silver. From the sourcing of the raw products all the way to the disposal of the pieces, they have sustainability in mind, which is a really fundamental value for me as well. So let me just show you some of the pieces that I'm wearing today. So you have the Camille hoops that I'm wearing, but as you can see, they do have that little something in them, a navy blue stone inlay. So that are these ones right here, the Camille loops. I'll link them down below. And I also got the matching bracelet, which is the Sarah bracelet, which is very French in the way that it's, again, it's like dainty and fine jewelry, but there's just that little something, there's that little touch of detail to look out for. I also have these ones to show you, and I am actually giving them away, so they are still in their original package, but basically they're little pearl earrings with a gold chain drop, which is super cool as well. And I'll link those down below, but all of the designs are made in really limited numbers, so I can't promise that they'll still be there, but hopefully they are when you click them down below as well. So Anna Louisa definitely specialize in doing more luxury jewelry design, but at really fair prices. So the pieces start at $39 US, and if you click my link down below, you will be directed to the biggest sale of the year that they're having. You can buy one piece and get 40% off the second piece, and they have incredibly fast international shipping as well. My pieces arrived in New Zealand in honestly just a matter of days. So if you want to treat yourself a little bit of French style into your life this holiday period, or maybe gift it to a loved one, I definitely recommend them hands down. Just another nice way to keep the French vibes nice and high. The third thing that France just does better is having entire, like, well preserved villages and towns that are entirely beautiful. And what I mean by that is that in New Zealand, you don't come to New Zealand for the cities or the towns. Let's be honest, the architecture and the buildings are pretty ugly actually. But even if you do have like a good looking town, you have some parts that are really pretty. So you've got some parts with like maybe old character homes or buildings and that kind of stuff, and then other parts that just aren't that pretty. So you never get a cohesive, everywhere you look is good looking in a township. Whereas in France, there are so many amazingly gorgeous villages and towns. I'm thinking of Colmar. Oh my gosh, literally a fairy tale. You feel like you are in Beauty and the Beast. I haven't been there personally, but this has been on my vision board. This is on my wish list for France. Like, this place looks like my dream village. Saint-Malo, I loved Saint-Malo. It's a completely walled village. I love walled and fortified villages and towns as well. Also like Carcassonne. Oh, so gorgeous. There are so many places in France where you're like, oh my gosh, the castle, the fountain, the church, the town well, like everywhere you look, it's just preserved and beautiful, and like the cobblestone streets. Oh my gosh, France definitely does this better. On a more serious topic, something that France definitely does better is social security, the healthcare system. It's got one of the best healthcare systems, of course, in the world. It's pretty famous for it, and it's very, very protective. The universal healthcare, even for undocumented immigrants, not only protects everyone, but it allows people to live 100% not in fear. You know, they're not in fear that they're gonna get cancer, or they're gonna even get, you know, need their wisdom teeth out, or something serious is gonna happen. They know that whatever happens to them health-wise, they'll be protected. Now, we have quasi-universal healthcare in New Zealand. All of the majors, everything that's an emergency, everything that requires you to go to hospital, and cancer and like those kinds of things are covered. There are wait lists and things like that in the public system, but you know, it's free. And you know, dental care and doctor's visits and that kind of thing for children, and also up to the age of 18, are either free or highly subsidized as well. So we have it, I know, better than some countries. However, eyesight and dental are private healthcare matters. So you have to either have health insurance or pay out of pocket for non-urgent dental. And then, you know, every time you get glasses, or if you want, you know, laser eye surgery, that might be 10 to 15,000 New Zealand dollars, for example. Now, most things are covered by Social Security in France, and then you can top up with a private health insurance as well to get the full suite, but they're very cheap. It's like the equivalent of like 60 euros per month, you know, and it covers so much. On my husband's mutuelle, when we were back in Paris, he got laser eye surgery, for example. So, you know, he got what was, you know, a 7,000 euro operation completely reimbursed. And through my mutuelle, I was able to get glasses for my vision, sunglasses with my, you know, vision correction in them. I got my wisdom teeth out, all sorts of stuff, like every 6 months going to the dentist to get your teeth professionally cleaned, all that kind of stuff covered. Also, prescriptions and medicines are very, very cheap in France, if not completely 100% reimbursed. Like, it's surprising when you have to pay for a prescription as well, or it can be something ridiculous like, you know, thyroid medication that you need to take every single day was like 3 euros a month or something like that. And this is actually regulated in France, and there are maximum prices per drug as well. So there are lots of things in place to make sure that healthcare is extremely affordable. The next thing that France does better is the weather. So not necessarily in terms of temperatures and that kind of stuff. You know, we have relatively mild winters here in Wellington. It can get down to like 1, 2, 3 degrees, but it's quite rare. You know, it's usually averaging around sort of, you know, 5 to 10, 10 to 15-ish, you know, and then our summers are more like around, let's say, 25 degrees Celsius. In the North Island of New Zealand, further up than we are, they do see in the 30s as well, but it's never super, super hot heat wave like, you know, 38, 39, 40 as you very commonly get in Australia. So the temperature is not exactly what I'm talking about. It's more the consistency. So in France, the seasons are relatively stable. You know what you're going to get. You can plan weekends away in summertime because the chance of you getting good weather are like 90% because it's summer. Whereas in New Zealand, we just don't have that stability. You can have a stunning day, blue skies, nice and warm. In the middle of winter, you can have a week, 2 weeks like that. Whereas you can have storm, rains, all sorts of stuff in summer. We also have like 4 seasons in one day where it can be a storm in the morning, bright blue sky, nice and sunny in the afternoon, and then get quite rainy and windy in the evening. Like, it can change so very quickly. It makes it incredibly hard to plan weekends away or plan events because you just never know what you're going to get. We're checking the weather forecast literally until like 12 hours before we're due to do something because you just don't know what's going to happen. And because we have a hole in the ozone layer which has been there for forever, structurally there, unfortunately, just above New Zealand, it means that the sun feels very, very harsh. When it's really piping hot, we can really feel it and we can burn quite easily. So in France, you can sit outside in the sun, you can bake on the beach for hours and hours and hours and not get sunburnt. Whereas in New Zealand, you are pretty much always high risk of sunburn. You wouldn't want to be outside in the sun for more than 20 minutes without sunscreen because, I mean, you shouldn't anyway to look after your skin, but you know, there is actually risk of burning really, really quick here. I know that I would get completely slammed if I did not add this point in. Of course, France and its food has some of the best food in the world, let's be honest, but in particular, I mean, I'm not going to go on about the patisserie and the cakes because you guys know La Petite Gourmande here loves that kind of stuff, but also like the cheese. I don't think you can find the cheese or the bread anywhere else, literally. Like, all the cheese that gets imported here has to be pasteurized. So that kind of smelly, non-pasteurized cheese, it just doesn't really exist. Different food safety standards. And so like that gooey camembert with truffle through it, no, I'm like, you are not getting that over here. So yeah, definitely the cheese and bread, way better in France. And I would just say as well, the education around food. They got that right, you know, teaching children from like, basically from the time that they can eat, you know, how to try a variety of different foods, how to eat, when to eat, how to know when you're full, how do you know when you've had enough, all of that kind of stuff. I find the food education very strong in France, and what it means is that I find less people like junk food. Less people like snacking on lollies, candy, whatever you call it, chippies, pretzels, like that snacky stuff, like artificially flavored things. I just find it's just far less in the culture, and it's a good thing, obviously, from a health perspective. And a lot of French people just don't like it. They don't crave it because they eat well for their meals and they know how to eat. It's a piece of education that I think is just really, really important, and France does it so much better. The next thing France does so much better are the employee rights, the protection in France around the employment contract. Very, very difficult to, you know, restructure, make employees redundant, and God forbid fire an employee. Very, very difficult. Like, we're talking, you know, for a restructure, 1-2+ years of consultation, extremely expensive for the company, big payouts, big packages, if it can even happen. It's just really, really difficult to justify, especially if you're a very successful company. What this means is that over in France, you have almost a supreme sense of job security. Something that you also get are 5 weeks minimum paid leave per year, which is really great because France really pushes this concept of the work-life balance. You know, in August, people are gone for the summer, 3-4 weeks. It's normal. It's summertime. It's time to live. It's time to profiter, you know? So it's really like, it's a different vibe, I think, when you have so much vacation. 5 weeks that's the minimum. That's like for every single profession you can imagine on full-time contract. And then the professionals, the cadre, I mean, they usually get 7, 8, 9+ weeks of holiday. So France does that better. in terms of looking after their employees and making sure that they take breaks. You also have loads of benefits. I've done a whole video on it actually, which I'll put right here. Go and check it out. I'll also link it in the description box down below, but it's all about the benefits you get when you work in France. There are too many to list, honestly, so just go and watch that video. The next thing that France just does so much better are the phone and internet plans. They're so cheap, they're so affordable, and they just, yeah, the options are endless. Like for around 25 euros per month, you will find providers who will give you your home phone, your internet connection, your mobile data with unlimited calls, and like 2 gigabytes of data per month. In New Zealand, we pay probably 4 times that. So yeah. So needless to say, you do it much better in France. The next thing I wanted to call out is the higher education system in France. I think that France does it better because even at the master's level, it's very much focused on apprenticeships, practical learning, and internships, which are not only paid by law. Like for example, when I did my apprenticeship, I was getting 1,500 euros per month while I was a student for 14 months. So that was incredible. So not only are they paid, but they're very pragmatic, and it's all about getting that professional experience. And they've actually made it so companies must offer legally these apprenticeships and internship opportunities based on their profit and their performance and that kind of stuff. So companies have to help students out. Companies have to make it easy for people to gain experience, paid experience, and to increase their chances of being employed afterwards. And I think that is just awesome. And one last bonus for you is that, of course, what France does better is that my in-laws are there, my French family is there, and we just really miss them, and we can't wait to see them in 2021. It's been a year, but yeah, bring it on. 2021, we're gonna go back to France and see them again, and that's something that New Zealand can never really give us. The whole French family, our French friends that are over there that we cannot wait to see. Cool guys, so I hope that you enjoyed this little list of things that France just does better than New Zealand. If you have visited New Zealand and France or lived in both of these countries, please let me know what you would add to the list. I'll be checking the comments down below. I love hearing what you guys have to say. And don't forget, if you want to treat yourself to some beautiful jewelry that ticks all of the boxes when it comes to French style, French chic, definitely check out the Ana Luisa holiday sale. It's the biggest sale of the year with the best prices, and you can get some amazing jewelry which is not only beautiful but also 100% carbon neutral. So until next week, take care, and I'll see you next time on the Not Even French channel. A bientôt!